The compressor is one of the most commonly used tools in audio signal manipulation, music production, and audio engineering generally. It has unique parameters and very specific functions. But one of the things that many engineers struggle with is the ability to hear what exactly the compressor is doing and how it is doing it. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tips on hearing compression, and that's what's coming up. Hey, I'm Akurios and you're welcome to this video. This Friday, we're talking about music production, audio engineering, and I'm sharing some tips on the compressor. We've dealt with the compressor on this channel several times. I've showed you one or two things on how to use a compressor for different purposes. But today, I'm going to be sharing some things on how to hear what the compressor is doing. And I'll be showing you examples and demonstrating with some audio signals, different types of audio signals. So let's just head into the screen and see what's going on. All right, so first of all, I'm going to start with this recording of my voice. I just recorded this particular take here, which is just me speaking into the mic, but the mic is about maybe 2 meters away from me because I wanted to deliberately record the room so I can show you exactly how you can use a compressor to bring up the sound of a room if that's what you want to do. And sometimes you wouldn't want to do that. You would want to avoid bringing out the sound or bringing up the sound of the room if you recorded the vocals in a room that doesn't sound very good. So in this case, if you just listen to it, I'll just pick up my headphones here. And if we listen to this recording. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance. I'll just turn off the compressor first of all. Listen. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance so that I can also capture the sound of the room. Now, if you listen, you can hear that there's a sound in the background. That's the sound of the room, the sound of my computer, the sound of some devices, my external hard drive spinning, a disk spinning, and all that in the background. Now, if I decide to bring up this compressor, this is just the stock Avid compressor. Now you can see the parameters here. We have the knee, we have the ratio, we have the release, the attack, we have the gain, the makeup gain, and the threshold. Now, quickly, what these do, generally speaking, is we'll start with the ratio. The ratio tells you how much of the signal that approaches the threshold do we want to let out. What's the ratio? So for every 3 dB, for a 3:1 ratio, for every 3 dB that approaches the threshold or that tries to pass through, we're only going to let 1 dB, one of that 3 to pass through. So when we start increasing that particular ratio, 10:1, 20:1, then we're talking about limiting. And then the knee refers to how we want the compression to happen. Do we want a smooth attack of the compression when the compression begins? Do we want it to smoothly begin to reduce the signal, or do we want it to abruptly begin to reduce the signal? That's what the knee is about. So as I turn the knob of the knee, you can see that it's smoothening that line, and then it's hardened again. And then we can also talk about the attack. The attack refers to how fast we want the compressor to hit or begin to act on the signal. And then the release refers to how quickly we want the compressor to release the signal at the end of the compression of that particular signal, okay, to begin another round of compression. And then there's the makeup gain, which is just to raise, the output volume, the final volume that goes out of the compressor after we're done with what we are doing. All right, so back to this signal. So if we listen to it one more time, I'm going to bypass this. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance so that I can also capture the sound of the room. Okay, now pay attention to the sound of the room in the background. I've engaged it. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance so that I can also capture the sound of the room, because I'm going to show you how So I'll show you what I'm doing with this compressor on this particular signal. So first of all, I have a 3:1 ratio, and then I have a medium attack, and then I have just below medium release. Now, I must mention here also that if you want a faster attack, it's to the left, and then for a slower attack, you go to the right. So when the figures are increasing, you know that you're having a slower attack and a slower release, as the case may be. So, and then the makeup gain is boosted quite a bit because that's what I want to do with the entire signal. I want to make things louder, but I don't want to make the louder signals too loud, because if you listen to it, you can hear that the signal that is, or the sound within this signal that is loudest is my voice. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance. So the goal, if you want to bring up the background, maybe you have a background that something else is happening. It could be on stage, on a live stage, and you want the sound of the audience to be louder. You can approach it this way. So what I'm going to do is compress the louder signals or do nothing to them, and then bring up the background sound or the background elements of that particular recording. And that's what I have here. That's why I have the makeup gain boosted a bit. So, all right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance so that I can also capture the sound of the room, because I'm going to show you how the compression can bring up the sound of the room that you're recording your vocals in. All right, so I'm deliberately recording this from a distance so that I can also capture the sound of the room, because I'm going to show you how the compression can bring up the sound of the room. So you can hear that the compression is bringing up the sound of the room. So the attack and release are around the middle, and the threshold here is around 32. So why I have it there is because that's the point that I've found to, best suit what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so you just have to listen to what the compressor is doing, listen to how you're going about it, and how close you're getting to what you want to achieve. The law is simple. I say this all the time. Always have in mind what you want to achieve before you begin. That's the best way to approach mixing. That's the best way to approach manipulating these audio tools, because that way you can begin to hear, recognize, identify that you're actually getting close to your final result. Okay, so I'll show you another example. Now, this example is going to be this kick right here. I'll just take it from this section. I'll just play, I'll just loop this section right here. Okay, and I'm using a different compressor here. I'm using the VMR, the 1176 version of the VMR. And what we're doing here is very simple. Now, just listening to the VMR, just loading it up, we can hear that the kick is being compressed a bit. If I bypass it, you can hear. So it's louder, but that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is to bring up the tail and show you how we can affect and manipulate the transient of that kick drum. So, when you're dealing with drums, sometimes you want the transient to come out well. Sometimes you want it to be dulled a bit. So you can have that saturation, so you can mellow it down, especially for percussions that are too spiky, for want of a better word. Okay, so let's engage it and let's begin. So first of all, we have the input here. So if I were to boost the input a little bit, that determines the amount of compression, the amount of the signal that is coming into the compressor. So that is the amount of signal that we want to compress, or it determines the amount of compression that we're going to have within this compressor. So you can hear that the tail of that kick drum has come up already. It's louder, it's bigger. We can hear the tail. So if I decide now to have the attack all the way to the right, and in this particular compressor, for a faster attack, you want the attack tuned all the way to the right, and then for a slower attack, it's all the way to the left. So it's the opposite of the other compressor, the Avid stock compressor that I showed you earlier. And so for this particular example, I'm going to have it very fast, and I'm going to take the release. It's the same thing. All the way to the right is a fast release, and all the way to the left is slow. So I want it very slow, the slowest it can be. All right, so if we listen to that, okay, but if I decide to take the release all the way to the right, so that I have a fast release. So I have a fast attack. It's attacking the transient of the drum. The very first sound of the drum is being attacked very, very quickly by the compressor. So it has dulled the attack and boosted or made the tail of the kick drum more prominent. So that's what you can hear by this fast release. So you can hear that sound. Now, if I decide to make this release, take it all the way to the left to make it very, very slow so that the compressor holds down the kick for longer, you're going to discover that we're not going to hear that tail any longer. Where did the tail go? The tail is gone. Why is it gone? Because the compressor is holding it down, holding the signal down for much longer. So you can hear these things happening by different parameters, manipulating different parameters within the compressor. Now, so having done all that we've done to this particular kick drum, if I decide by myself and I say, you know what, it's now too quiet, I have to now boost the output so that it comes up a bit. And if I decide to take that release to the middle so that it doesn't hold it down for too long, so we can have a little bit of that tail. And playing around with the attack also can help us tune in the transient the best way we can. With a slower attack, there's more transient. So it's heavier, but with a faster attack, we've dulled the transient of the kick drum. So if that was helpful, tap the like button, give me a thumbs up right there, and that would be amazing. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now and tap the notification bell so that you're notified when there's new content on this channel. Until when next we see, I'm Akurios and I'm out.